Aquarius workshop, the illusory fear of deficit. I start with a quote from Passwork Lecture 250 with the title Living on Deficit. And the quote is as follows. The benign circle can be established by risking to give out in the conscious expectations that possibly the fear of suspected poverty and deprivation may be illusions and that abundance will grow. End of quote from Passwork Lecture 250. The illusory fear of deficit comes from a deeper refusal to give the best of ourselves to the world, to our environment, to people, and to ourselves. This refusal comes from a feeling of inadequacy, from the conviction that we have nothing to offer. And that feeling of inadequacy is the result of our refusal to give. We want others to give us something, and this makes us unable to feel how much we would have to offer if we really wanted to. Because of this refusal, it is impossible to see our qualities and abilities. We are therefore trapped in a vicious circle. The less we think we have to offer, the more dependent we are on others, and this makes the illusory fear of deficit even greater. It also makes us resentful and therefore even less loving and less willing to give. This in turn creates more feelings of guilt and a feeling of not being worth it, so that we are unable to receive all the inner and outer wealth. We feel increasingly poor and dependent, and we realize that what we passionately desire cannot be given to us by others. Why do we find it so difficult to give the best of ourselves to life? We believe in the misconception that we are shortchanging ourselves when we give to life, and that we become richer by greedily grabbing and grasping. But our difficulties and frustrations arise precisely from this misconception, because this selfish and greedy attitude is harmful to life and others, and therefore also to ourselves. In this workshop you will explore with a loving curiosity 3 fundamental themes of the Passwork lectures regarding the illusory fear of deficit. First theme: dissolving the illusion of poverty. We can dissolve our illusory fear of deficit and poverty if we do our activities from abundance, because then they will create more abundance. But if we live from a strong poverty consciousness, then this will create more poverty, because our attitude towards events, life, and other people is determined by our attitude towards ourselves. The next quote stems from Passwork Lecture 210. If you want to experience abundance because you fear poverty, you also create a split. The abundance you then create is not built on reality, and is thus a flimsy structure that must be crushed again so that you can then let yourself be poor and dissolve the illusion of poverty. Then the real unified richness can grow. Only when you can be poor can you allow yourself to be rich as an outer expression of inner content. End of quote from Passwork Lecture 210. The second theme: letting go of belief in deficit. We tend to assume deficits as a protection. This tendency is related to the belief in a meaningless, poor, deficient cosmos. But these illusions reinforce the tendency to assume deficit. We do not give our best, but we give distortedly to get what we do not think we are worth. Only by facing and letting go of the illusory fear of deficit can our true wealth be discovered. The next quote stems from Password Lecture 250. When you secretly believe you are a totally unlovable and unacceptable human being, you build on deficit. When your real and false guilt prevent you from turning yourself fully over to God, you build on deficit. When you assume the universe to be hostile to you, and you protect yourself against this alleged hostility with destructive defenses that you may or may not be conscious of, that you may rationalize and justify, you build on deficit. End of quote from Password Lecture 250. The third and last theme: experiencing abundance from inner wells. We all have areas where we experience abundance and other areas where we feel deprived. It is important to discover in which areas we feel rich or poor. Where we feel rich, we will always experience abundance because there we have a giving and honest attitude. But where we feel poor, we will remain trapped in the illusory fear of deficit until we create inner wealth through giving and honesty. The last quote stems from Password Lecture 236. You will realize that abundance is available, but only to the degree you wish to squander yourself into life, to give as generously of your inner riches to the process of the whole as you wish to receive from life's abundance in your own way. End of quote from Password Lecture 236. I wish you peace and all the best. Thank you.